Hey Film, welcome back to our channel. So it's been a busy week, and I do apologize for not being able to give you guys any updates on just how my work has been going. So I think going forward, maybe once a week, I'll give you guys an update about my whole week. I think that'd be the best way to do it. So let's get into it. So my first day was Tuesday. Forget the date, but nonetheless, we got here Sunday. I had like orientation in a classroom on Monday, and then Tuesday night I went onto the unit with my preceptor. So let's start there. So my first night was on a telemetry unit, which I had told you guys I don't do telemetry. Telemetry is like people who are having heart issues. Everybody's on a heart monitor, and it's really a specialty. I don't read cardiac strips. Like, you're on a heart monitor, it like keeps track of your rhythms. And you can print a strip, look at it, interpret it, say what kind of rhythm they're in. I know basic rhythms. I don't know like the intense rhythms like heart blocks and things like that. So I was apprehensive about going. So first of all, I went to Kettering, Maine, which is like 8 minutes away from our hotel. Beautiful hospital, like absolutely beautiful. We do not have any hospitals in Pittsburgh, almost anything like this hospital. Closest one I could probably compare it to might be East, but that's a stretch. So the hospital's beautiful. The unit I went to was beautiful. They had carpeted floors. Every room was private, and it reminded me of like McGee labor and delivery suites, like leather couches. They were huge. Like, it was really a beautiful unit. So I was with a girl named Lauren. She was really young. She was like 25 years old. We were together the entire shift. I think I told you guys I was supposed to be with her for 8 hours and then by myself for the last 4. Well, that didn't happen. So I introduced myself to her, let her know that I don't have a telemetry background. And she's like, okay, no problem, I got you. So it's a 1-to-5 nurse-patient ratio, meaning one nurse can have max 5 patients, which is awesome because where I come from, it's usually a 1-to-6 patient ratio. So I'm like, oh, 1-to-5, that'll be awesome. Excuse my baby in the background. So we started off with 3 patients, got an admission, and it was kind of a complicated case. So then we're finally getting her situated, like around like 10:30. Then they sent us another admission. This admission never sat right with my preceptor, and I did have to educate her. She had only been a nurse for like 1.5 years, and I did have to educate her on advocating for herself. She didn't feel comfortable taking this patient. When the patient came up to the unit, she just didn't look right. And you really have to stick to your gut, kind of like you get this little intuition as a nurse, like there's something not right with this patient. So she never felt okay taking the patient, but she took her. Well, nonetheless, fast forward, she's getting ready to give me a report on our patients and hand them all over to me. Well, everything went to crap at 2:40 a.m. The patient that she did not find appropriate for the unit ended up going into cardiac arrest right in front of us. We had to do chest compressions, like the whole nine. The patient was intubated at the bedside, which intubated means like they put a tube down your throat because you can't breathe on your own anymore. It was like a big deal. This patient was very sick, and so she was transferred to the ICU, and I haven't heard anything else about it. So I'm hoping that she did do well. So after she coded, it was like 5:30 by the time everything settled, by the time we transferred her to the ICU and everything like that. So we didn't get another admission, so we ended the shift with 4 patients. So I got off at like 7:30 in the morning, got home that day, and my boyfriend, my kids, they woke up, they left the room, and then they were back at like 2 o'clock. So I slept from like 9:30 to 2 on after my first night shift. It was rough. I was telling my boyfriend, like, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to stay here because, you know, I'm here for work. Like, I need to get rest. I work at night. So I did reach out to the hotel we're staying at to see if we could get an updated room, and we did. We're now in a 1-bedroom suite, which before we were in a studio suite, so I shouldn't have a problem getting any rest. Okay, y'all, so they just upgraded our room finally. Past week we were in a studio suite, and now we are in a 1-bedroom suite, so that I can get some rest. Don't take your shoes off, we're not done moving, so that we can get some rest.
This is how mom's going.
It's before, and I'll show you guys the before. Hey y'all.
This is how mom's going.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm thoroughly satisfied with this room. I don't know why this girl's on my bed, but yeah, we have a decent little view. It's the front of the hotel. So yeah, all right, we'll be back. Peace.
Mom, this is comfy.
So day 2, I had my first little hiccup of this experience. So I work for Kettering Health Network, and their staff calls me every day to let me know which unit I'll be going to at which hospital. Well, they called me on Wednesday evening at like 5:30 saying I was going to Hamilton. I'm like, okay, no problem. And then they said I needed to go to the ICU. And I'm like, oh, no, sorry, you guys must be mistaken. I don't work the ICU. I'm hired for med-surg telemetry. And the lady acted like I called her a bitch. Like, she got extremely offended. Like, what do you mean you don't work ICU? I said, you know, my contract says a med-surg tele. She's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to have anywhere to send you. Click, and hangs up the phone on me. I said, I was flabbergasted. Like, what is even happening? So I ended up calling my recruiter. I'm like, you know, she didn't answer. I'm like, you need to call me now because we have some things that we need to clarify. So nonetheless, my recruiter called me, and she's like, no, they're absolutely wrong. You are med-surg. Your contract says med-surg. Do not go to the ICU. So nonetheless, the staffing called me back and said, you know, we're still going to Hamilton, but you're going to go to the ICM. I'm like, that's not the ICU, right? She's like, no, ICM. So I go there, and it is their step down unit, which I've never worked step down. Step down is like the spot right whenever you get out of the ICU, but you're still too sick to go to a regular med-surg unit. So these patients are like more acute, they're more sick than the patients you'd see on a regular med-surg unit. So I didn't tell anybody that I've never worked on a step down unit. I just jumped in, hit the ground running. And it wasn't until I was getting ready to punch out and everybody was telling me, like, you did a great job. Most of our travelers, they're not as competent as you. Like, you functioned really independently. You didn't have very many questions or anything like that. And that's when I let them know, like, you know what, y'all? This was my first time ever working step down, and they could not believe it. I mean, I loved that unit. That unit was absolutely amazing. The patients were just the right amount of acuity. The night flowed very well. The staff was very helpful, very knowledgeable. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, so I really liked that. So that was day 2. Now, I came home, and after giving my kids and my boyfriend a pep talk about the evening before, they did get up. They, we fellowshiped for a little bit, I hung out with them for about an hour. Then they went and did whatever they did, and they didn't come back until like 4:30. I got the best sleep. So, being well rested and ready for the day, for my last 12 of the week, woke up, got a phone call from Kettering. They said I was going back to the telemetry unit that I was on Tuesday. In which I was like, you know what? I feel okay going back there now, because the first day is always like a culture shock. So I'm like, I got my feet wet on Tuesday, so I'll just be on my own. I'll be okay. I wasn't okay, y'all. It was a mess. I got off late. It was just a mess from start to finish. The patients that I had on Thursday, I probably should have had on Tuesday, so that I had a reference just to ask. Like, I had this patient who was on IV antibiotics, and her heart rate, she had atrial fibrillation, which means like your heart's just kind of like humming. So it looks very weird on the monitor strips. It's kind of like just vibrating, and it's regularly irregular. So your heart rate can 1 minute be 60 beats per minute, and the next minute it be 160 beats per minute. So this patient, and that's called rapid AFib when you get up into those really high numbers. So the previous nurse had left me kind of a mess, but not going to throw her under the bus. Things happen. So she's like, yeah, this patient's really edematous. She lost her IV access. She needs a midline placed. And I called IV team, but they haven't called me back yet. So I'm thinking like, oh, okay, great. IV team's here all night long, and they'll come up and do it. So it wasn't until about 8:30, when I still hadn't heard from IV team, that I found out that IV team leaves at 7:30. I worked all night long trying to get in touch with the physician to let him know that, your stat IV metoprolol that you ordered at 6:30 p.m. has still not been given at 10:30 p.m. because the patient doesn't have an access, and it's not something that you can give a different route. Like, some things you can give IV or IM, which is like in your muscle. IV metoprolol is not like that. You can only give it through the IV. So like, I ran like a chicken with my head cut off, talking to the charge nurse, and she's like, okay, I'll call the shift supervisor. She'll come up and do it. It's midnight, still hasn't come up. So I call the ER, because the ER nurses should come do it. They're like, we're slammed, we'll be up when we can. I call the ICU because their nurses have ultrasound so that they can see a vein. When a patient has a lot of swelling, they're able to use the ultrasound and place the access. As he's like, we're busy and we're understaffed, so no. So it wasn't until about 1:30 that the ED did come up and place her access. But that was just one of my patients. You know, I had 3 patients and then they had given me 2 admissions. So it was like constant running around, and I don't have access to all of their, like, they use MatchMD where you can like email the physician to let them, you know, ask them a question, let them know what's going on with a specific patient that you're worried about. I don't have access to it, so I'm relying on like my coworkers or like my charge nurse, and they were kind of all just like, we're busy. So it's really true with travel nursing, like you really have to be confident and like, yeah, you just have to be confident in your skill set. And I had went live on Facebook earlier and I said, like, you know, I'm glad that God didn't give me what I wanted when I thought I wanted it. You know, I've been a nurse almost 5 years, and I couldn't imagine doing this travel nursing any time before now. I mean, you have to have a certain amount of assessment skills to really be comfortable, you know, going from a hospital system you're used to. You know, I work for UPMC and Allegheny Health Network. I also work for the VA. I'm used to working with a certain charting system, with a certain med distribution system. You know, for you to have to uproot that, go to a brand new hospital, learn their policy and procedures, learn to do things their way, it really takes a strong minded person to do that, and you have to be confident in your skill set. So like I said, thank God for not giving me what I thought I wanted when, you know, way back when. So other than that, I was going to pick up overtime tomorrow, but today got so hectic I didn't get a chance to do much with my kids. Like, we went to breakfast, but other than that, we were just like running around. We had to switch rooms, so we had to pack up all our stuff, and we packed for 2 months. So it's like we had to pack up all our stuff, move rooms, like it was a big ordeal. So we didn't get to do too much as a family today. So I did promise them tomorrow is all about them. We're going to swim all day, we're going to cook out, we're going to have ice cream, we're probably going to roast marshmallows if I can find some metal skewers. Been looking for metal skewers, can't find them. If you know anything about Ohio or where I can find some metal skewers, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to order them off Amazon. But yeah, so tomorrow's going to be all about them. They've been extremely well behaved, and they deserve some more.
Good night.
They've been great, except for that baby. Somebody come get her. Where's her godmom? Just kidding. So yeah, that's it. Just want to give you guys an update on my first week. So all in all, I give it a 7 out of 10. You know, what was it? Thursday sucked. Like, that's it in a nutshell. It sucked, but I learned a lot. You know, this whole experience has been so enlightening. Just working with different kind of people with, you know, different skill sets than mine, and they're bouncing ideas off of me. I'm bouncing ideas off of them. I'm learning different charting systems. I'm learning about medications that I've never heard of before. Like, I learned about a med called Tikacin and Sodalol. If you guys know anything about that, drop it in the comments, because I didn't know anything about that until Tuesday, and I'm not certified to administer those medications. You need a certain certification, but I learned a lot about them. And these patients who receive these drugs, they're like perfectly fine, like usually walkie-talkie patients, but they have to be in the hospital for the first 6 administrations of these medications because it can cause them to go into an arrhythmia called torsades. And the treatment for torsades is IV magnesium at a really high rate. So they just make sure that they're okay for the first 6 administrations, which is like twice a day, so every 12 hours. So they're in hospital for 3 days, and then they go home and they have to take it on a really rigid schedule. Same time, 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. every day. If they miss a dose, they have to come to the emergency room. So yeah, I think that's it. Anything you guys want to know, just leave it in the comments.